Okay, what's going on? What's going on? Your man Diamond K in here, of course. The DiamondKShow.com, on fire-tv.com. We are live every weekday right here. A lot of things that we got to get into, a lot of things that that I got on the
Visit onfiretv.com for live top stories, breaking news, and original shows.
In Texas, wherever it is in the country, it is always something with guns. We're going to talk about that. Of course, the war in Ukraine rages on. The police in Texas under the spotlight over the amount of time that it took them to get, this response going for this massacre. We got to talk about that. Of course, the appeals court has ruled that Donald Trump must testify in this New York probe. A lot of things on the plate today. So, with regards to what is happening or what has happened in Texas, right? Just 10 days ago, we had to deal with the effects of a mass murder in Buffalo. Now, police are under the spotlight over the speed that the speed of the response to this school massacre. Love Potion, how you doing? In the building, shout out to you. I need to holler at you too, by the way. I'm gonna reach out to you behind the scenes, Love Potion. So the gunman was in this school roughly 40 minutes. Okay. So much for a quick police response. 40 minutes before the police even entered the school. Law enforcement officials are coming under fire, and they should, coming under heavy scrutiny today over their response to Tuesday's mass murder at an elementary school. So, of course, you're going to have people that are going to prop the police up. And my thing is why did it take 40 minutes for them to go into the school? DJ Booby, what's going on, man? Shout out to you. Hope all is well. I need to holler at you too, by the way, bro. I need to reach out to you. Law enforcement officials waited 40 minutes. 40 minutes. So, of course, we know that this massacre took place in Uvalde, Texas, at an elementary school. 19 students, 2 educators were killed by a lone gunman in the country's deadliest school shooting in almost a decade. Almost a decade that this has been, unfortunately, this milestone. Queen of Wands, thank you so much. So the press conference happens, and the reporters threw questions at the police about why they waited so long to enter the elementary school. So, yes, there was violence, obviously. An official on camera said that law enforcement had not yet verified if witnesses were urging the police to move in and discussing entering the school themselves. Although there is video out there, right? Police are going to be very slow to throw one of their own under the bus. They said this: "We have not verified if that's a true statement or not, or whether it's just rumor out there." Look at them trying to muddy the waters, right? Now, they continued, "You've got to understand we're getting a lot of information. We're trying to track down and see what is true. We want to vet it," they said. They want to vet it. So they're not convinced. No, not our police waiting outside, ready to go, but just chilling outside, scared to go in. And I understand that there's a situation going on, right? You have a mass shooting situation going on. So we've heard a lot of different things online. We've seen, and hopefully they will bring this to light. So authorities had previously said, of course, that law enforcement confronted the gunman before entering the school. They didn't want to vet that. They just put that information out there, but that was not true. That was not true. All right. The shooter entered the building unobstructed. The door was unlocked. Texas Governor Greg Abbott said yesterday that he had praise for the law enforcers who arrived on the scene, saying that the death toll would have been so much higher, but not for the amazing courage of the first responders. Now, if they stood outside for 40 minutes before entering the school, I don't know if praise is there. I mean, yeah, we're glad that you came to the scene, but you stayed outside for 40 minutes. That's a whole episode and a half of Martin. Why were they outside so long? What were they doing? What were they doing outside? Videos have surfaced showing distraught family members outside of the school screaming at heavily armed police officers to engage the shooters. Right? Multiple police officers. It's just a lone gunman, right? Lone gunman. So anyway, the parents or family members that were outside of the school that are screaming at the officers to engage the shooters to go in the school, they were even attempting to rush in the schools themselves. Ken, you're absolutely right. They did fail. They did fail. These officers did fail. And what is amazing to me is that these officers are trying to be propped up as some kind of heroes. The local news reports have since emerged featuring some of those very family members accusing the police of doing too little, too late to stop the carnage. And Kenya points out that everybody in Texas has a gun. I think you're right. I think just about everybody in Texas has a gun. Okay. Gotta send a shout out to Queen of Wands, Kenya, Baltimore official, aka Miss New York. Shout out to you. On YouTube, she is the Queen of Wands. All right. So thank you for your donation. Jess Monica, how you doing? Kenya says that they were border patrol. Border patrol, I guess. She says control, but I think you meant border patrol, right? And the feds, absolutely. So the Associated Press reports that the father of a fourth grader who was killed in this shooting said the police officers were still outside of the school when he arrived on the scene. He proposed that he and another bystander tried to enter the school because the officers were not. The police, he said, were unprepared. The police were unprepared. Now, the Uvalde Police Department, of course, they're gonna lay this out like they are the best thing since sliced bread. You know, they held it down. If it wasn't for those pesky kids with these cameras, yeah. So they got cameras, they got footage showing a different story than what the police in Uvalde, Texas, have been putting out there. All right. So now they're saying, oh, there's a big investigation going on. We're going to try to get to the bottom of it. He says that the Texas Ranger Division is leading an ongoing investigation into the events. So we're going to have Texas investigate Texas and see what happens there. So the police chief, Daniel Rodriguez, says, I know answers will not come fast enough during this trying time, but rest assured that with the completion of the full investigation, I, meaning he, Police Chief Daniel Rodriguez, will be able to answer all the questions that we can. He said this in this press release. So they put this press release out today, signed by Police Chief Daniel Rodriguez, and it says that the officers responded to the attack within minutes. You mean like 50 minutes? He said that the Texas Rangers, of course, are leading this investigation. We're going to see what happens there. Now, of course, the controversy arises less than 48 hours after 18-year-old Salvador Ramos entered Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, killed 21 people, including 19 children. Deadliest shooting since the 2012 attack on Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. If you remember, that massacre left 26 people dead, including 20 children. So this is the world that we live in, and we have got to stop being so desensitized to death, so desensitized to loss of life, to violence, to kids being killed. Yeah, it is very, very, very heartbreaking. Very heartbreaking. So the authorities are saying one thing. Folks that were on the scene are saying something else. And there is video. There's a lot of video out there, and more video is going to come. So I really think that the Texas Rangers need to be very careful with what they put out there, because the video evidence could contradict that, and it just looks bad. Just looks real bad. Just tune in, your man Diamond K in here, of course, the DiamondKShow.com, on fire-tv.com. I am here weekdays, 6 p.m., running down the news and doing that from a straightforward perspective. The Senate Republicans blocked a domestic terrorism bill. A terrorism bill. No surprise there that has been blocked. There's no surprise. Senate Republicans, not one Republican voting for this. So what are we talking about? Today, they blocked a bill to create a domestic terrorism office within the federal law enforcement agencies in response to mass shootings in Buffalo, New York. Of course, you remember that one left 10 people dead. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Democrat of New York, framed the Domestic Terrorism Prevention Act as an opportunity to vote on Republican and Democratic amendments to try to curb some of this gun violence. They want to try to do something, and what the Democrats came up with was this bill that's going to create another task force, essentially, that's going to focus on domestic terrorism. He said that the bill is so important because the mass shooting in Buffalo was an act of domestic terrorism. We need to call it what it is, he said. Domestic terrorism. It was terrorism that fed off the poison of conspiracy theories like white replacement theory. Schumer said on the floor before the vote, and Republicans were not going along with that. The vote broke down along party lines, 47-47. As I said, not one single Republican voted for this measure. The legislation would have created an interagency task force within the Justice Department, Department of Homeland Security, and the FBI to analyze and combat white supremacist infiltration in the military and federal law enforcement agencies. Of course, you have white supremacists within these organizations, within the military, within federal law enforcement, and the Republicans were like, "Oh no, we don't want you to stop that." The Republican senators argued that the new federal laws and the offices are not needed. Oh no, everything is fine the way it is, they said. There's no need to monitor and prosecute domestic terrorism because politically motivated violence is already covered by existing laws. Hey, wait, it's not working. The FBI director already said what the big problem is: domestic terrorism. Senator Rand Paul, you know what we think of him. He's a Republican from Kentucky, and he called the legislation an insult to police officers. No, he's an insult to humanity, Rand Paul. But anyway, he says that the legislation is an insult to police officers and military service members. It would be a Democrat plan to name our police as white supremacists and neo-Nazis, he says. I meet policemen throughout Kentucky, and I've never met one policeman motivated or consumed by any kind of racial rage, he said. All right. This white man says that he's never met or seen any police officer that was motivated or consumed by any type of racial rage. What? He's like, a racist? I've never seen, and this is the kind of problems that government has. This is why people get so frustrated with government, because nothing gets done. It's a whole bunch of double talk, a whole bunch of nothing. And what I said yesterday, and I'm going to continue to say it, when we have this gridlock, when nothing gets done, we have to get those people out of there. Most of the politicians are too old. We cannot have 80-year-old people running the country. They're too old. They are too old to be running the country. We wouldn't let 80-year-old people in our family handle the car, plan the family reunion. We would say, no, grandma, grandpa, sit down. We got this. You just chill, right? And we would have somebody younger doing it. So what's Kenya saying? Kenya on Instagram is saying that the mask is lifting. If we the people don't stand up, she said, we'll have 40 plus people continue to go against what we all collectively want, which is change. You are absolutely right, Kenya. I mean, we have got to stop letting a few people stand in the way of progress. What we need, progress. And Senate Republicans and Republicans in Congress in general are just in the way of getting things done. Now, President Biden has been a major disappointment. So what we had was two old white guys. One is a extreme narcissist, and the other one is empathetic, but he's inept, and that's President Biden. So we had those two choices, and we had 4 years of the extreme narcissist, the liar, and we're going to get to him in a minute, and now we're going to have 4 years of an inept Joe Biden. Not getting anything done, really. Not just shuffling along. They're propping him up. He has been a complete disappointment. But that's what Joe Biden has always been, a disappointment. If you look at Joe Biden's record, you go back to the 90s. You look at the way that he handled the Clarence Thomas, Anita Hill fiasco. If you look at different things that he said about President Obama before he was elected, when he announced his candidacy for the presidency back then, 2006. Things that Joe Biden has said over the years. Definitely not a stellar person. Definitely wasn't my pick. I talked about anybody but Joe Biden for the Democratic nomination. But Joe Biden comes up. And when it came down to Joe Biden versus Trump, I thought that Biden was a better pick. But Neither pick was good. Neither pick was good. And what we have to deal with right now is a very disappointing Joe Biden, a underperforming Joe Biden. And so I buy the Democratic Party in regards to the top of the ticket with regards to the presidency. Oh, there's a lot of trouble because I don't know. Joe Biden 2024, that don't even sound right. Right? Nobody's excited about that. Joe Biden ain't excited about that. Who's next for the Democrats? I don't know. VP Harris does not excite or motivate a lot of people either. I do understand her sorority sisters, get real excited about her. But other than that, who's excited about VP Harris? I mean, let's keep it real. Who's excited about VP Harris? Nobody. So I don't know what happens. Maybe something changes in the next 2 years. I don't know. Maybe something changes in the next 2 years, but I just don't see her exciting anybody. I don't know if Joe Biden has another campaign in him. I don't know. Campaigns can be grueling, and he lucked up because pandemic was going on. He was able to do a lot of campaigning from the basement. But he ain't gonna be able to do that. He ain't gonna be able to do that mess going into 2024. He ain't gonna be able to campaign in the basement. I guess he could play I'm the president. I gotta fall back. He might could play that game for a while, but you can only do that but for so long. And then people are gonna want to see him. But his record, he has a record. And one thing that Trump had to deal with is that initially he didn't have a record. I mean, he had a record of bankruptcies and he had a record of lying and groping women and getting divorces. He had that kind of record, but he didn't have a political record. So people gave him the benefit of the doubt. Talking about Trump, right? He squeezed his way in, even though he lost the popular vote, even though most people didn't want him. He squeezed his way in past Hillary. And then he runs again in 2020. Now he has a record. Now he has something that we can look at. And they were like, I don't know. And Biden was able to squeeze by, right? Now Biden has a record. And his record is crap. His record is crap. What do we have? Inflation. We got high gas prices. We got high everything. Everything is going up. And, Joe Biden is not directly handling it, but he's the face of it. He's like the coach for a losing team. Yeah, you weren't on the field, but when it comes time for somebody to go, you need to go because you were in charge. You're the face of the team. And that's what it is. So I don't know whether Joe Biden can turn this thing around. I don't even know if Joe Biden can physically make a circle and turn around. I don't know. He can turn around the other way. I don't know. If somebody said, hey, Joe, and they're behind him, can he turn around? I have no idea if he can. I don't know. Do you think Joe Biden can turn around and see behind him? No. All right. Not going to answer. Fine. Don't answer me. So that's what it is. I don't know what the easy answer is for the presidency, but we need somebody. And like I said, I don't think that VP Harris is the one. She doesn't motivate. Michelle Obama motivates people. I know she ain't trying to run, but Michelle Obama is the type of figure that people would get excited about. VP Harris, I don't know. Now, speaking of Donald Trump, the appeals court, because he likes to play this court game, right? Donald Trump likes to play this court game. What does he do when he's in court? He tries to duck and hide and shuck and jive. That's what he tries to do. Now, it appears that all that stuff not working. The former president and his 2 adult children have to testify in New York. The attorney general's probe into his business practices. Oh, he is shady. The state appeals court ruled today that they rejected his challenge to a subpoena. So he's going to have to bring himself and his kids, a 4-judge panel for the appellate division of New York's Supreme Court, unanimously ruled against Donald Trump in this appeal case. They dismissed the former president's arguments that the subpoena is part of a politically motivated investigation. Nice try, Donald, but it did not work. The OAG, the Office of the Attorney General, began its investigation after public testimony of a senior corporate insider and reviewed significant volumes of evidence before issuing their subpoenas. Oh, it is time. It is bring them out. Bring them out. The panel wrote in this 4-page decision using the acronym OAG for the Office of the Attorney General. Appellants have not identified any similarly implicated corporation that was not investigated or any executives of such corporation who were not deposed. So they want a deposition from the former president, and they said, therefore, appellants have failed to demonstrate that they were treated differently from any similarly situated persons. So they're saying anytime somebody else was in a situation that you are in right now, Donald Trump, Ivanka Trump, young Donald Trump, they had to provide a deposition. And now you have to provide a deposition. Stop with the foolishness is what they're saying. So this ruling also applies, as I said, to Donald Trump Jr., who is currently an executive vice president at the family's company, Ivanka Trump, who stepped down as a corporate officer in 2017, the New York Attorney General, Letitia James, she's a Democrat. Now, she's conducting a civil investigation into potential fraud at the Trump organization. So we're going to see what happens there. So she's conducting that. Of course, she's happy about this decision because she's going to get to depose Donald Trump, Ivanka Trump, and Don Jr. James said that once again, the courts have ruled that Donald Trump must comply with our lawful investigation into his financial dealings. So you know Trump's not happy about this. His attorneys, they didn't want to speak. They ain't got nothing to say. They're trying to figure out a way to squirm out of this. So Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York, said, "We will continue to follow the facts of this case and ensure that no one can evade the law." This means you, Donald Trump. This means you. James said that her investigation has found evidence that the Trump organization fraudulently misrepresented the value of its assets in the years before Trump was elected. So this is not even something that he can hide behind. She's not talking about something that he did when he was president. She's talking about the years before he was president when he was committing fraud. This is what we talk about in the streets. You know, somebody committing fraud. This is what it is. This is an example of corporate fraud. And normally when people do this, they have to face the music. And Donald Trump has been ducking and dodging for so long that he just thinks that people just think nothing's supposed to happen to him. Well, it appears that the law is slowly moving. Now, the ruling is not certain to bring an end to Trump's legal battles with AG James. He could still appeal the decision to the New York Court of Appeals, which is the state's highest body. He's probably going to do that. Trump is also asking a federal judge to block James from carrying out the investigation, though it's not clear when that lawsuit might be decided. So Trump is trying every delay tactic that you can possibly think of. Trump had appealed to a lower court ruling ordering him to provide testimony and documents to AG James' office. The judge found Trump in contempt earlier this month for failing to comply with the order. And in that order, he was supposed to provide testimony and documents to her office. He, didn't do that. They found him in contempt. And, the former president's lawyers have echoed his public accusations, which he's trying to say that she's motivated by political animus. She's got an axe to grind. She hating on him, all that kind of stuff, and that just is not going to work. That is just not going to work. They are also just arguing different things back and forth. They're trying to get him to testify in this civil investigation. The attorney general, they say, is jeopardizing Trump's right against self-incrimination in the midst of a criminal probe that is also being carried out by the Manhattan district attorney's office. So he's got a civil case he's dealing with. He's got a criminal case he's dealing with. And y'all want this guy to be the next president? Dang. I mean, talk about, dirty dealings. This is just ridiculous. This is just ridiculous. Just tuning in, it's your man Dom McKay in here, the DomMcKayShow.com, OnFireTV.com. Now, after 3 months, Russia is still bogged down in a war with Ukraine that they started, right? They started, and America is all in this, right? The conflict has marked its third month as of Tuesday. So Moscow appears, I don't know, it's just stalemate. It's just, it is really no end in sight. Very few successes on the battlefield. There was no quick victory. Putin, thought he was going to have a quick victory. Thought that he had some powerful forces. They wasn't really hitting on nothing. He thought that it was going to go down easy. He was going to be able to establish some puppet government. Not the case. Russian troops got bogged down on the outskirts of Kyiv and other big cities, and this has just been dragged on. Troops ran out of supplies, gasoline. They become easy targets. This is looking crazy. They look like a bunch of amateurs. Looking like a bunch of amateurs. No one knows how this war is going to end, but chances are that it will not find the Russian Federation in the same position of strength that it was in before the conflict began. I don't know. He's looking crazy. I hope that they get him up out of there. Putin. He needs to get up out of there. Your man Dom McKay in here at the Dom McKay Show. OnFire-TV.com. DJ Dom McKay at gmail.com. Tonight, the versus UGK is facing off against 8-Ball and MJG. I love this battle. I love this. We're going to be talking about this. I'll be back at 11 p.m. Going to give you a rundown of the events on Versus. Of course, I'm going to be tweeting live as it goes down. I'm excited about this one. They screwed up Versus the way they did Onyx and Cypress Hill, just making them an afterthought on just some kind of whacked out boxing card. And then expecting people to pay $3 for it. People didn't want to pay the $3 for it. And yeah, $3 ain't a lot of money, but you got to roll this thing out better than they've been rolling it out. And if you're trying to get people to go behind a paywall, Cypress Hill versus Onyx is not the way to get it done. It's not the way to get it done. So just in time for Memorial Weekend, they are having live from Atlanta. Starts at 8 p.m. UGK versus 8-Ball and MJG. And if anybody knows me, I love both of these groups. Both of these artists got better songs than Onyx and Cypress Hill as far as more hits to me. And I think this is a good one. Now, I didn't think this is not how you roll out a pay model. They're trying to do this to appease the fans because they got a lot of backlash online folks was talking about them greasy verses. I heard people saying they ain't gonna never watch verses again. But you can watch this on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, of course, on their websites. So a lot of folks are going to be watching this now. I don't know. Maybe the girls don't want to see it. Maybe it's too hard for the girls. But the fellas are going to be into this one. UGK got some hits, y'all. And 8Ball and MJG, legendary groups. Rest in peace to Pimp C. Like I said, I'm excited about this. We will be back here at 11 p.m., maybe a little bit before, to talk about the matchup, the verses, and the whole thing. So I'm going to be on Instagram. We're going to be on onfire-tv.com, on Facebook, on Twitter, on youtube.com/DJ Diamond K. Did I say Facebook already? Facebook and all of that. So tonight, looking forward to it. 8 o'clock, the versus starts. And if the show ends like I think, I'm thinking that they're going to have a DJ come out, play for an hour, and then start the battle at 9 o'clock and wrap it up just around 11. If they start on time and start exactly at 8 o'clock, meaning the rappers start at 8 o'clock, then we're going to go on air at 10 as soon as it's over. So whenever the versus is over, we're going to go live and recap it after that. People can join me on the Instagram Live or join me on YouTube and pop on the screen and let me know your thoughts and all that kind of good stuff. So like I said, whenever the versus is over, whether it's 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. Eastern, we will be back here. Your man Diamond K. I'm looking forward to this one. I am really looking forward to this one.
Visit onfiretv.com for live top stories, breaking news, and original shows.